The night sky over Earth had always been full of quiet mysteries, but on that particular evening, silence shattered. The stars flickered as if startled, and then a single streak of blue light cut across the darkness. People across the world paused mid-sentence, mid-breath, mid-dream. For a moment, every eye lifted upward, drawn by something ancient and instinctive, hope mixed with fear. General Arya Grant was one of the first to receive the alert. She stood alone on the balcony of the Global Defense HQ, sipping bitter tea to push back exhaustion. Her days were long, filled with arguments between nations and warnings of new dangers. She thought it was another false alarm, another meteor, another excuse for politicians to panic. But when the message appeared on her tablet, she nearly dropped it. It was a distress call. And it wasn't human. The transmission was shaky, full of trembling energy, as though traveling from an impossible distance. A voice, weak, melodic, and unfamiliar, begged for aid. Arya could not recognize the language at first. Then the tablet's translator flickered to life, scrambling to decode it. Slowly the words formed. "Help please, Queen, taken, trapped in the void prison, warriors of Earth, we beg you." Arya's heart froze. Queen, she had heard that name only once in an old classified report about a peaceful alien civilization that watched Earth from afar, admiring humans for their resilience. No one believed the report. Many laughed it off. But here, in her hands, was the proof. She called for an emergency meeting. Within minutes, Earth's strongest fighters stood in the war room, some in uniform, some still wiping sleep from their eyes, others wearing scars from battles that humans rarely spoke about. They weren't a single team, but a collection of legends, each representing a different part of the world. Iron Fist, a martial artist whose calm presence seemed carved from stone. The gravity tech engineer known for crafting suits that let humans stand where no human should. Al-Said, once a doctor, now a soldier who fought only when words failed. Holt, the quiet sniper whose eyes could track the smallest motion in the darkest night. And many more, heroes called not for glory but necessity. When the message replayed, the room fell into a deep, troubled silence. The alien voice sounded frail, like a candle smothered by wind. Stepped forward first. "Who is she?" he asked softly. Arya took a breath. "A queen from a distant world, and apparently she is someone who once protected us without us knowing." Frowned. "If she protected us, why contact us now?" The general didn't answer. Instead, she replayed the last part of the transmission. The voice whispered, "Earth, you are strong. We believed in you. Please save her, before the darkness eats her light." Closed his eyes, as though the plea reached someplace deeper than his thoughts. "It sounds like they have no one else left." "And Earth was their last hope," murmured. Arya looked around the room. Their faces showed fear, confusion, and something else, responsibility. Humanity had always assumed it was alone in the universe. Tonight, that illusion was gone. The universe had looked back and found them worthy. "We don't know where she is," Arya said. "We don't know who took her. We don't know the enemy's strength or even their shape. All we know is this: they believe humans can reach her when no one else can." A long pause stretched. Then nodded, a slow, resolute motion. "If she believed in us, we cannot turn away." The others agreed one by one, some quietly, some with fire in their voices. No contracts, no rewards, just the simple, powerful truth that someone far away needed help, and humans answered calls like that. Arya inhaled, steadying her trembling voice. "Then prepare yourselves. Tonight we step beyond Earth. Tonight, we go to rescue a queen from a darkness we've never seen." Outside, the blue streak in the sky widened, forming a glowing doorway in the heavens. And Earth's greatest warriors walked toward it. The gateway in the sky pulsed like a living heart, bright enough to turn night into pale silver morning. As Earth's strongest fighters gathered beneath it, the air around them vibrated with a gentle hum, as if the universe itself was whispering encouragement. No one knew how long the gateway would remain open, only that hesitation could close it forever. General Arya Grant stood on the runway where a special transport ship waited, one designed in secret, meant first as a dream project, now suddenly a lifeline. Its frame shimmered with strange energy from the alien signal, reacting as though awakened. approached it first, studying the glowing symbols that now covered the hull. "This isn't our doing," she said, running her hand along the surface. "It's adjusting to the call, almost like Queen prepared this for us before she was captured." Watched her carefully, so she knew we might come someday. Stepped closer, feeling the warmth from the ship's surface. Or she hoped. The team boarded in silence, each member lost in private thoughts. The interior lights were soft, almost gentle, illuminating seats that shifted to match the shape of whoever touched them. Even, always calm, paused for a moment to feel the strange technology respond to her presence. It was all so unfamiliar and yet strangely welcoming. As the ship rose, the gateway widened, curling like petals inviting them through. The world beneath them blurred, and the moment the ship crossed the edge, everything shifted. The familiar sky vanished, replaced by a vast river of stardust and swirling colors that moved like slow flames. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Inhaled deeply. So this is what lies beyond our sky. The ship glided forward without sound, guided by unseen forces. Arya monitored the readouts. Even though half the symbols were impossible to understand, she kept her eyes sharp. She had commanded armies, faced monsters born of Earth's worst eras, yet nothing prepared her for this gentle, cosmic silence. During the journey, the distress signal replayed inside the ship again, but this time, holographic images appeared, faint, flickering scenes of a world made of crystal forests and oceans that shone like liquid diamonds. In the center of the vision stood Queen. Her form was tall and graceful, with eyes full of warmth and strength. She was surrounded by others of her kind, all with glowing markings across their skin. Then the image darkened. Strange shadows appeared, swirling like living smoke. They dragged her away, and her people fled as the brightness of their world dimmed, piece by piece. The final moment showed her reaching toward the stars, the direction of Earth, before vanishing into a cage of black light. Clenched her fists. She didn't send the call for herself, she wanted her people to survive. Spoke softly, almost to himself, and still she asked for us. Arya looked at each of them. Whatever those things are, they fear what she represents, and if she trusted Earth, then we stand for her now. As the ship flew deeper into the starlit path, the scenery changed. The soft colors became harsher, as though something poisonous touched the edges of space. The lights dimmed, and a cold shadow stretched across the horizon, checked the readings and frowned. Something is draining energy from everything around us. Moved to the front window. Ahead, a massive structure floated in the void, an enormous fortress made of fractured metal and chains that drifted like broken planets. It looked like a wound in space, swallowing light and hope. "That must be the Void Prison," Arya said, her voice tight. The ship slowed. Even though no sound existed in the vacuum, the crew felt an invisible pressure. A weight not on their shoulders, but on their souls. The fortress seemed to stare back at them, alive with malice. But standing steady, whispered what everyone felt deep inside. "We came this far, we won't turn back now." The ship descended toward the fortress, toward danger, darkness, and a queen waiting for the courage of humans. The void prison loomed before them like a dead star carved into jagged metal. Every edge pulsed with dim red veins, as if the structure itself had once been alive and was now trying to remember how to breathe. Even the space around it felt sick, bending into strange angles as though time was afraid to touch the place. Inside the ship, the team stood before the main hatch, preparing for descent. Their gear hummed with power drawn from the alien technology Queen had left behind. Adjusted her gravity cuffs, making sure they would hold even where physics failed. Attached a small device to his chest, an emergency shield generator he designed from scraps found in the ship. Cleaned the lens of her rifle with steady hands. Quietly tied the black band around his wrist, a ritual he had never explained but always respected. General Arya watched them with a deep, steady breath. They were about to step into a place built to break spirits, but none of them hesitated. The doors opened. A wave of cold rolled in, not the cold of space, but something emptier, something that clawed into the heart and whispered lies. Stepped forward first, planting his foot onto the metallic platform extending from the fortress. His boot felt heavier, as if grief itself was pressing down. Hold your thoughts, murmured behind him. This place listens. Scan the surroundings. The readings are unstable. I can't tell if we're inside something or standing on the outside of whatever this reality is. The platform led into a massive chamber filled with twisted pillars made of dark glass. They weren't straight. They bent inward like hands trying to grab the intruders. Embedded inside some of the pillars were shimmering shapes, faces frozen in silent screams. His voice trembled. Are those prisoners? Arya shook her head slowly. No, they're echoes, memories trapped in the walls. As they walked deeper, faint whispers drifted through the chamber. Voices begging, crying, warning. But none belonged to Queen. It was clear the prison wanted to confuse them. Kept moving every step firm. Stay focused, the Queen is here somewhere. A thin bridge of cracked metal stretched over a dark abyss in the next chamber. The team moved carefully, but halfway across, the bridge shuddered violently. Something moved below them, something enormous. A single glowing eye flickered in the darkness beneath, watching. Aimed her rifle downward. The abyss is alive. Stepped back from the edge, or something inside it is. Without warning, a surge of black tendrils shot upward, striking the bridge. The metal cracked like breaking bones. Arya grabbed a rail as the whole structure tilted violently. Move, she shouted. Dashed forward, leaping onto the next platform and rolling to break the fall. Fired her gravity stabilizer at the bridge, slowing the collapse just enough for and to jump across. Arya came last, using her strength to dive forward as the entire bridge crumbled behind her and fell into the hungry abyss. The eye below closed, as though disappointed. Helped Arya to her feet. This place wants us afraid. Looked ahead, jaw tight. Then we won't give it what it wants. They entered a long corridor illuminated by floating shards of light. Each shard showed a different scene: Earth's oceans, forests, cities, children playing, storms forming. The images flickered like memories being spied on. Whispered, it knows about our world. Arya touched one shard. Instantly it turned black, swallowed by the darkness. It fears Earth's strength, she said softly. That's why these walls try to frighten us. They reached the end of the corridor, where a massive set of doors stood, engraved with strange markings. The moment approached, the doors trembled as though sensing his presence. Then, from somewhere beyond them, faint but unmistakable, came the sound of someone calling for help. Queen. Her voice was soft and exhausted, like someone who had held hope for far too long. Stepped forward, placing both hands on the cold metal. We're here, Your Majesty, he whispered. Humans came for you. As the doors began to crack open, a burst of dark energy exploded outward, throwing them back and scattering them across the floor. The shadows formed a shape, tall, monstrous, and shifting like smoke. A guardian of the void prison. The first true enemy stood between them and the Queen. The dark figure rose, stretching taller than any human could imagine. Its form was ever-changing, sometimes a solid shape, sometimes a writhing mass of black smoke. The shadows whispered in voices that crawled into the mind, tempting fear, doubt, and surrender. Every fiber of the Earth fighters being screamed to flee, but their feet stayed planted. Stood first, fists clenched. Fear is not our master, he growled, his voice echoing in the hollow chamber. The shadow moved with unnatural speed. It struck without sound, slamming into the floor where Arya had landed, sending a shockwave of darkness that made her knees buckle. Fired her gravity stabilizers, forming a temporary barrier that flickered under the pressure. It's feeding on our terror, she shouted. Kneeling beside, aimed her rifle, the scope glowing with alien light. She fired. The bullet passed through the shadow and hit nothing, but the black mass recoiled as if stung. His eyes narrowed. It reacts to resistance, she said softly. Clutched a small device on his chest. He whispered a prayer, unsure to whom or what. A golden shield flared around him, then spread like ripples to the others. The shadow shrieked in rage, smoke forming jagged spikes that lashed toward them. Each strike cracked stone and metal, but the shield held, shimmering under the assault. Arya rose, wiping dust from her uniform. Her voice carried authority that seemed to bend the shadows slightly back. We are not afraid of the dark. We fight for the light, for life, and for hope. This ends now. Charged, every punch he threw cut through tendrils of darkness, and each strike seemed to push the creature backward, even if only a little. His strength was not just physical. It carried the determination of every human who had ever faced impossible odds. The shadow hissed, twisting into multiple forms, but none could hold against his unyielding will. Stepped forward, adjusting her gravity field. She sent a pulse upward, lifting the shadow off the floor and throwing it into the wall. Sparks of pure energy danced across the dark mass. It's a creature of fear, she realized. The more we stand together, the weaker it becomes. Fired again, this time coordinating with movements. Each shot didn't aim to destroy, but to distract, to give their combined strength a chance to land blows. "We fight as one," she said, voice steady, "and we cannot fail." The shadow roared, splitting into dozens of smaller versions, each circling like vultures. Shield flared brighter, deflecting the attacks, but he felt exhaustion creep into his bones. "It learns fast," he muttered. Arya stepped into the center of the chaos, her hands raised. She shouted a command that was not just for the team, but for the universe itself. "Earth will not bow. We answer the call of those who cannot defend themselves. Stand, fight, and move forward." Something inside the shadow hesitated. For the first time, its attack slowed. The collective will of humans, the courage of fighters who had faced impossible odds time and again, pressed against it like sunlight burning frost. Lunged, driving a final strike into the core of the shadow. It screamed, twisting, shrieking, then scattered into fragments that dissolved into nothingness. Silence fell. The chamber trembled but did not collapse. Dust floated in the air, catching the light from glowing devices. Every fighter panted, hearts pounding, bodies bruised, but their faces were alive with determination. Lowered her rifle, whispering, "It's gone, but the darkness was endless." Arya nodded, her eyes on the massive doors that still loomed ahead. "The first guardian is defeated, the queen is still alive, and we are still standing. That is what matters." Extended his hand to the others. "We push forward, no fear, only forward." Adjusted the controls on her suit, scanning the corridor ahead. "Whatever else is in this prison, it will feel the strength of humans. We are not just fighters, we are hope itself." Placed his hand over his chest, feeling the shield's energy fade. "And hope is stronger than fear." With renewed resolve, the team moved toward the Queen's call, each step echoing their belief that even in the deepest darkness, humanity could shine. The walls seemed to quiver as if sensing their determination. Yet still, beyond the next corridor, a deeper shadow waited. But the Earth's strongest fighters would not falter. Not now, not ever. The corridor beyond the shattered shadow stretched endlessly, twisting and turning as if the void prison itself was alive. Every step felt heavier than the last, and the air was thick with whispers, soft, almost mournful echoing voices that spoke in languages no human could understand. Yet every fighter knew the meaning: doubt, despair, and the faintest hope. Led the way, muscles tensed, eyes scanning for threats. "Keep close," he said. "The prison reacts to fear. If we hesitate, it will consume us." Adjusted the gravity cuffs on her boots. "It's like walking through a dream that wants to trap us." She looked at the glowing shards embedded in the walls. Each shard reflected scenes of their own lives, memories of battles, losses, and sacrifices. Some were warm and comforting, others were bitter and painful. Whispered, "It's testing us, feeding on our emotions." He reached out to touch one shard. The moment his fingers brushed the surface, a memory of his family, smiling in a sunlit garden, appeared before him. A shadow flickered across the scene, twisting the image into fear. He shook his head, refusing to let it manipulate him. His eyes never wavered. "Remember why we are here. Every step forward is for her. Every fear we push aside weakens the prison." Arya's gaze was steady. "She sent the call because she believed in humanity. We will honor that belief." The corridor suddenly split into multiple paths. Each path was lined with more shards, more illusions, more memories distorted by the dark power of the prison. The team paused. Frowned. "It wants to confuse us. It wants to make us turn on each other." Narrowed his eyes. "We stay together, trust one another. That's the only way forward." They chose a path where the light shards seemed faintly warm, guiding them deeper. The walls pulsed with energy, and the whispers became louder, almost pleading. Could hear voices from his past, friends lost in war, mentors who had believed in him, even the faint echo of a teacher's scolding from childhood. Each voice was carefully crafted to test him, to break him down. His voice broke through his focus. "Don't let it trick you, we are together." He shook his head, regaining control. "You're right, we move as one." The team pressed forward. Suddenly, the floor beneath them became transparent, revealing an endless void below. Shadows drifted like smoke, reaching upward as if hungry for the fighters' fear. Every step required precision, but even as they moved, the shadows lashed out, trying to pull them down. Took the lead here, deploying his shield, which projected a golden light over the path. "We cannot let this place break us," he shouted, helping others across each shifting panel. Arya watched them, heart swelling with pride. Humanity had always faced impossible odds, storms, famine, war. But never before had they faced something that existed to erase hope itself. And yet here they were, stepping forward with courage that no darkness could snuff out. Finally, they reached a chamber that pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow. At the center, suspended in a cocoon of translucent energy, was Queen. Her body was thin, her wings folded and frail. Her eyes opened slowly, revealing a deep sadness, but also a spark of recognition. "Earth," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You came." Stepped forward, hand outstretched. "We promised we would. We are here to bring you home." Tears welled in his eyes, and shared a look of quiet relief. Even Arya, so often the pillar of unshakable resolve, felt her chest tighten with emotion. But the cocoon was unstable. Shadows began to seep through cracks in its energy, writhing toward the Queen. The prison was aware of their arrival, and it would not surrender its prisoner easily. Arya drew her weapon. "Protect her, and I will hold the entrance. She cannot be taken again." The team nodded, forming a circle around the Queen. Their fear was present, but it was tempered by the unshakable determination to succeed. For the first time, the Void prison faced not just intruders, but warriors who carried hope, courage, and humanity itself. Queen's voice, though weak, rang with hope. "I believed in you." Tightened his fists. "You were right, humanity is stronger than any darkness." And as the shadows advanced, the fighters braced themselves, ready to face whatever the prison would throw at them next. The shadows surged like a tide, black waves lashing against the team. The cocoon around Queen shimmered, flickering under the assault. It was clear that the Void prison would not release her willingly. Every pulse of darkness seemed to carry the weight of countless worlds lost, but Earth's warriors stood firm. Leapt forward, striking the tendrils of shadow with precision. Each blow tore through darkness like sunlight slicing fog. "We fight for life," he shouted, muscles straining with effort. The shadows recoiled, hissing in unnatural fury, yet they continued to press forward. Activated her gravity stabilizers, creating a barrier of floating shards that rotated around the Queen. The shards emitted a soft light, forcing back the dark tendrils just enough to protect her fragile form. "It's feeding off fear," she yelled to the others. "Keep your minds clear, don't give it power." His hands glowed with golden energy as he expanded his protective shield. He moved closer to the cocoon, placing himself between the Queen and the advancing shadows. "We're not afraid," he bellowed. "Not now, not ever." Each word seemed to burn through the darkness, forcing it to retreat momentarily. Fired with surgical precision, each shot finding the weak points in the shadow. "Aim for the core, every strike matters," she urged. Her calm voice belied the pounding of her heart. She knew the slightest mistake could cost them everything. Arya stepped to the front, weapon ready, and her voice rang like a bell in the chamber. "We are humanity. We do not surrender to fear, to darkness, or to death. Forward now." The words carried not just command, but conviction, and even the shadows seemed to hesitate under the weight of human courage. The cocoon around Queen pulsed with energy, responding to their determination. Her eyes flickered, and for the first time she tried to move, weakly lifting her hands. A faint glow emanated from her body. It was as though her hope, combined with the fighter's resolve, had begun to push back the prison itself. Seeing the Queen's spark, roared, and threw himself into the densest cluster of shadows. Each strike was driven by something greater than strength: love for life, the memory of every human struggle, the determination to protect those who could not protect themselves. The shadows shrieked and twisted, but slowly they began to dissipate. Focused all her energy on stabilizing the cocoon. "We can hold it, keep pushing," she shouted. Her suit glowed brightly, throwing light into every corner of the chamber. The shadows shrank away from the brightness, retreating like smoke before a fire. Reached out toward Queen. "Hold on, we are here." His voice trembled, but his shield radiated stronger than ever. Every fiber of his being screamed that failure was not an option. Continued firing, moving in coordination with strikes. The chamber shook as the shadows, resistance faltered. It was a battle not just of force, but of spirit. Humanity's will pressed against centuries of darkness and malice. Arya saw the moment the tide could turn. She shouted, "Now, together!" Every fighter focused their strengths, fists, stabilizers, shields, shots. The combined effort struck the cocoon, and a wave of pure light exploded outward, banishing the shadows in a blinding flash. The chamber fell silent. Dust floated in the air like golden sparks. Queen lay in the center, her body trembling but alive. Her wings slowly unfolded, weak yet radiant. She looked at the team, eyes wide with wonder and gratitude. "You came," she whispered, voice trembling but firm. "I believed in you and you answered." Lowered his fists, chest heaving. "We always answer the call," he said. Arya nodded, pride shining in her eyes. "This is what humans do. We do not back down. We fight for hope, for life, and for those who cannot fight themselves." And gathered around the Queen. The first light of victory glowed within them, not just survival, but the proof that even in the deepest darkness, humanity could shine. And in that silent chamber, the void prison trembled, its power shaken by a force it had never understood, the unbreakable spirit of Earth's strongest fighters. The void prison shuddered, cracks spreading across its jagged walls. The shadows were gone, shattered by the combined will of Earth's strongest fighters and Queen's faint but unwavering light. The chamber trembled as if the prison itself realized it had lost. Helped the Queen to her feet. She was fragile, her wings still weak, but her eyes shone with life and gratitude. "You risked everything for me," she whispered. "I never expected anyone to answer." Arya placed a hand on his shoulder. "It was never a question. Humanity answers calls like yours." Her voice was firm, carrying the weight of their shared triumph. "No matter how far, no matter how impossible." The team moved carefully toward the exit, scanned the corridors, making sure no lingering shadows remained. "The path is clear, but the prison itself is unstable. We have to move fast." Offered the Queen his arm, guiding her through the trembling halls. "Hold on, we'll get you out," he said, his voice gentle yet commanding. Every step was cautious, but determination burned brighter than fear. Kept her rifle raised, eyes alert for any sudden threat. "We've fought for hope, nothing else matters now." As they reached the edge of the prison, the gateway to the starlit path they had arrived on flickered faintly. The prison groaned, walls splitting and collapsing inward. Massive chunks of dark metal and stone fell into the abyss, swallowed by the void. Glanced back at the crumbling fortress. "It's dying," he said, "but we are alive, that's what matters." The Queen's voice, soft but steady, echoed in the chamber. "You have given me life, but also something greater. You've shown the universe what humans are." Her eyes glistened with tears. "Your courage, your spirit, it is beyond anything I have known." Arya looked at the team, pride swelling in her chest. "It's not just us, it's humanity. Every person who ever faced the impossible, every person who ever stood when others fell, every child who dreamed of reaching the stars. That is who we are." With one final effort, activated the ship's engines. The glowing panels hummed, the energy from the alien design intertwining with the Queen's light. The craft lifted, gliding into the gateway. Behind them, the void prison collapsed into an endless storm of darkness, devoured by its own hunger. Tightened his grip on the railing, feeling the turbulence as the ship shot through the starlit path. "We made it," he said, voice full of awe. Smiled, glancing at Queen. "And she lives, that is worth everything." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and the queen raised her hands. A gentle wave of radiant energy spread from her, washing over the team. It was warmth, hope, and life itself, reminding them that the universe was vast but not beyond the reach of courage. Queen spoke softly, her voice carrying over the void. "I will tell my people of Earth. I will tell them of the courage, the strength, the light that lives on your world. You are worthy of more than survival. You are worthy of trust, of hope, of glory." Arya felt a lump in her throat. "We only did what we had to. Humans never leave anyone behind." Looked out the viewport, watching stars stretch and bend around them. "We answered a call no one else could. That's humanity's gift. That's why the universe believes in us now." The queen smiled faintly, fragile but alive. "And now I can go home because of you." As the ship soared past the remains of the Void prison, the fighters looked at one another, exhausted but triumphant. Their hearts pounded with relief, pride, and a quiet understanding. They had faced darkness that had consumed worlds, yet human courage had prevailed. Clenched his fists, voice firm. "The universe will know Earth's strength, not because of weapons, not because of power, but because of our spirit. We are humanity. We answer the call." And in that moment, drifting among the stars with a queen in their care, they knew it to be true. Earth's strongest fighters had done more than rescue a life. They had proven that no darkness, no void, no enemy could ever extinguish the light of humanity. The stars ahead gleamed brighter than ever, as if the universe itself was applauding their courage. And Earth's small blue defiant had answered the call.